Hello everyone, I'm Andy Day. Welcome to the England Hockey League preview podcast for edition 16. It's a very busy weekend in the Premier Division with 17 fixtures across 2 days of action. We'll focus most of our attention on Saturday's games, but we will of course touch on the Sunday games where almost all the men's teams are playing again. Time to get underway with the fixtures, starting with the Women's Premier Division top 6. It's a 5 o'clock start for Reading Wimbledon, 6 p.m. for East Grinstead Loughborough Students, and also 6 p.m. for Surbiton, Hampstead and Westminster. As ever, there are some great fixtures this week. East Grinstead versus Loughborough Students. This one finished honours even, a 1-1 draw at Loughborough in early November. East Grinstead are on a run of 2 draws in a row, and Loughborough have conceded 5 at home twice this season, the second time coming last weekend against Surbiton. East Grinstead cannot finish higher than 4th if Reading get a point from their last 2 games, and Loughborough Students are guaranteed to finish 6th as they cannot catch 5th placed Wimbledon. Reading versus Wimbledon also finished 1-1 when they met earlier in the season. Reading's great start to the season has slowed considerably after winning 8 of their first 10. Reading are now on 1 win in their last 4. Somewhat similarly, Wimbledon have lost 2 Phase 2 games after only 1 loss in Phase 1. Wimbledon ended one of the longest streaks of the season with a 2-0 win over Hampstead and Westminster last weekend, stopping their run without a defeat at 12 matches. Reading could end up level on points at the top of the table by the end of the day if results go their way elsewhere. We get to talk to Anna Toman later on about preparations for this game. Surbiton host Hampstead and Westminster for the second time this season and are hoping to perform better this time around after that 2-0 home defeat back in October. That was Surbiton's last defeat in the league and are now on a 9-game unbeaten run. As mentioned, Hampstead and Westminster have lost their own long unbeaten run, and it was their first game without scoring since the opening weekend of the season. It's first versus second, and the top spot in the table is at stake. This does look like a great fixture, and one I'll be looking out for first for the highlights. Here are the Women's Premier Division lower 6 fixtures for Saturday. Midday for Sutton Coldfield University of Birmingham, 1:30 for Bowdon University of Nottingham, and 4 p.m. for Holcombe Clifton Robinsons. The opening match of the weekend is at Sutton Coldfield, where they host cross-city rivals University of Birmingham. This is a repeat of Sutton Coldfield's first match back in the Premier, which turned into a day where University of Birmingham scored 8, which was just under half of the 17 goals that University of Birmingham scored in their first 11 phase games. University of Birmingham are on a run of 3 draws in a row and are seeking a first win since October, and Sutton Coldfield's season-long quest for a first win continues. They're on a run of 7 losses in a row now. Intriguing match in prospect. 1/2 for Bowdon University of Nottingham. This is also a rematch from the first week of the season, and University of Nottingham took the points with a single Maddie Axford strike. University of Nottingham have 3 wins this season, including that match, and 2 wins over Sutton Coldfield. Bowdon are on a good run of form and have 3 wins on the trot, coinciding with Georgia Carroll scoring in all those games, a big swing in form after 5 defeats in a row. This looks like a great match to keep tabs on. Finally, Holcombe versus Clifton Robinsons at 4 p.m. It's an opportunity for Clifton Robinsons to secure a league double over Holcombe, following their 2-0 win at Clifton Robinsons in November. Holcombe's last 5 goal scorers have been scored by different players, and finding a regular source of goals has been a struggle for the Kent team. Don't forget they started the season with 2 wins from 2, but have only won 1 against Sutton Coldfield since then. Clifton Robinsons won against University of Nottingham for their first win since a defeat of Holcombe. You get the impression that it will be a close and tense affair. I wonder if that's what will happen on Saturday. Into the stats. No change at the top of the goal scorer table, with Beaver Mills of East Grinstead staying on 11 goals for the season. Surbiton's Darcy Bourne is now on her own in second place after adding another this week to move on to 10. No change also in the clean sheet table. Miriam Pritchard is top with 5 for the season. Here are the Men's Premier Division top 6 fixtures. All 6 of them. First 3 are Saturday, 4 p.m. Wimbledon, Surbiton, 6 p.m. for Holcombe, Hampstead and Westminster, and 6 p.m. also for Old Georgians and Oxted. Sunday's fixtures, 3 p.m. for Holcombe, Wimbledon, 4 p.m. for Surbiton, Old Georgians, and 6 p.m. on Sunday for Hampstead and Westminster and Oxford. As mentioned, we'll focus on the Saturday games in detail. The early fixture is the 4 p.m. game between Wimbledon and Surbiton, both coming into this game with 4 wins in their last 5. Surbiton on a streak of 3 wins in a row after their defeat against Old Georgians. This finished level in the league in November. That was a 2-2 draw, and the teams had also met in the EHL KO round at Surbiton, where Wimbledon lost to Surbiton and Surbiton qualified for the EHL finals at Easter. Wimbledon need to win to keep their hopes of second place and all 3 playoff pool games at home alive. On Sunday, Surbiton host Old Georgians and Wimbledon are away at Holcombe. A weekend of huge fixtures continues. Back in October, Holcombe won 3-2 at Hampstead. Holcombe come into the reverse fixture on the back of 2 defeats in a row. Hampstead and Westminster have lost 3 in a row, so both teams will feel that this is an opportunity to play and make a claim for 3 precious points. It's been a tricky phase too for both teams. Holcombe stay at home on Sunday hosting Wimbledon, and Hampstead and Westminster go home on Sunday and play Oxford. Finally, Old Georgians play Oxford. If previous results are a guide, then we're expecting goals in this one. After all, there were 11 in their first meeting this season, OGs winning 9-2. In terms of permutations, Old Georgians will clinch first place with a win over Oxford, or if Surbiton lose at Wimbledon. Oxford are seeking their first win in a little while, as they've lost 4 of their last 5. Sunday's games, Old Georgians travel to Surbiton, and Hampstead and Westminster host Oxford. Here are the men's Premier Division lower 6 5 fixtures this weekend. Saturday at 2 p.m, Richmond, Cardiff and Met. Saturday at 4, East Grinstead, Bowden. Saturday at 6, Southgate, Beeston. Sunday at 2, Beeston, East Grinstead. And Sunday at 2:30, Bowden, Richmond. 5 fixtures over the 2 days, as Cardiff and Southgate brought the game forward before the full restart of the men's Phase 2. Richmond, Cardiff and Met looks promising. Cardiff, as we know, have been good on the road, and Richmond's results and performances have been generally looking up. Cardiff posted their biggest win of the season against Richmond in South Wales back in October, securing a 7-0 victory. Scott Wall, who has 7 goals this season, is the only Richmond player to have scored more than once this season. Richmond's Sunday game is away at Bowden. East Grinstead play Bowden at 4 p.m. East Grinstead could get a seasonal double, as they've already won at Bowden in Phase 1. East Grinstead are now unbeaten in their last 5, which included 2 games against Cardiff and Southgate. Bowden have 1 win this season, but are still only 7 points away from safety. Bowden versus Richmond is Sunday, whilst East Grinstead are away to Beeston. Southgate host Beeston at 6 p.m. Beeston are starting to find their feet again and are top of the lower 6 on goal difference. Southgate start the day 6 points behind them, are unbeaten in 2025 and also have a cushion of 7 points above 5th placed Bowden. Southgate have scored and conceded in every match this season, and Beeston have a 100% win record in 2025. This match was a very entertaining 2-2 draw at the end of October. It feels like more in store on Saturday. Beeston play East Grinstead on Sunday. Sam Ward's 4-goal blast for Old Georgians against Hampstead and Westminster last weekend takes him from 22 to 26 this season. Struan Walker is now on 20 for Surbiton, and Henry Croft of Beeston is continuing to find the net. He's on 17 for the season now. Wimbledon's Oriol Gunlana remains out in front of the clean sheet league, picking up another against Oxford last weekend to move to 4. Tickets are on sale for the finals weekend at the Nottingham Hockey Centre on the 3rd and 4th of May. Make sure you head to the England Hockey website to get your tickets now. Today's podcast guest, it's a Commonwealth gold medalist. It's Wimbledon's Anna Toman. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me as well.
Firstly, there are 2 away games coming up which could shape the rest of the season. Trips to Reading and Loughborough Students. How are you preparing for those 2?
I think a really important thing for us is to build on our performance from last week. We had a really good win against Hampstead. We'd had some tricky games the weeks before, just with a little bit of inconsistency, and it felt like it came together against Hampstead. So it's kind of just important that we pick up where we left off last week and don't fall back into our ways of being quite inconsistent. And as you mentioned, they're away games, and we've had the luxury of having 3 home games. But it's another new challenge for us, and obviously this phase sometimes feels a little bit funny because it's not the end of the world if you lose. But I think for us at the moment, it's just gaining that winning momentum and also the momentum of playing well as a team.
Momentum is everything. You're right. It's your first win in the second phase, but this followed 4 wins on the spin at the end of the first phase. So, anything change over the winter break? Did you look at changing things around at all?
We didn't necessarily change anything. Obviously, there was a couple of us that came back from having a little bit of a break. So sometimes, even if those players are good, it just disrupts things a little bit. We had our Scottish girls missing for our first game. So I think stuff like that just sometimes affects us and just doesn't allow us to get back into the swing of things. So I do think that played a part. But it feels like from last week that we've now got a bit into the groove with things. So hopefully we can continue that going forward.
With that in mind, can you tell us a little about the coaching team that you have at Wimbledon?
Yeah, so we have Kev Johnson that's come on board with us this year. Obviously, we lost Alex Danson-Bennett and Colin Cooper, who had been with us for a very long time, but it was the right decision for them to step away. So we were lucky enough to recruit Kev. And it's been a brilliant recruitment. I think that showed particularly with the work that he did with the girls in the first half of the season. I didn't play the first half of the season. And you could see in the first few games, I helped him coach for 4 games before I went off travelling. And you could see what he was trying to do. It just wasn't quite clicking. And then obviously, like you say, they had a number of wins on the trot. So it really felt like the way he was wanting the girls to play and everything that he was implementing was really coming into play. So I think something that he's really brought to our team is the tactical stuff, which potentially we've lacked slightly as a team, and we haven't been quite as tactically aware. So I think that's been a real good addition for us this season.
What's it like on a match day for a Wimbledon home game?
If you could have been a fly in the wall in our changing room last week, then you'd that would answer your question. We're quite a lively bunch. We are a very close team. We actually get on extremely well, and that really shows when we're just in the changing room, just us as a team, probably making fun of someone. There's always sweets flying around, and I really enjoy those moments because, obviously the hockey is great, but it's those moments that remind me why I still play club hockey, because I get to play with all these amazing girls, and some of them have high-flying jobs in London, and they take their time out of their week to come and still play, and it's just really amazing to have that connection with other people. And that's what I really love about our team, is that we do have a really, really strong connection off the pitch, and that certainly shows in the changing room beforehand.
Oh, it's good to hear that there's a strong bond across the whole team. On a personal level, that you've played abroad as well as in England, what's the main difference, do you feel?
I think having played in Holland, I just realised just how different their club setup is over there. Obviously, a lot more people play it, but it really just feels a lot more professional. It's probably more similar to what things are like as an international player in comparison. They train, I think I was playing 7 times a week. I was training in the afternoons. We were doing video at every training session. And it's just not possible to do that in England. We don't have the money behind the clubs. We don't have the backing. Obviously, a lot of people work full time. So I think that was the real difference that I noticed. And it made me appreciate why the Dutch are so good at hockey, because there's just so many of them that play it for so many hours every week.
Mentioning international experience, can't really let you go without talking us through your experience in 2022.
In 2022, it was amazing, obviously, just to be selected. to play at a home Commonwealth Games. I think particularly after the years previous to that, we hadn't really played in front of any crowds, obviously because of COVID. So I think to then firstly play in front of a crowd, but to play at home and somewhere where I went to university, and I think there was 6 of us, maybe 5 or 6 of us in the team that had been to Birmingham University. It was really a special thing, and I've always loved the Commonwealth Games. It feels like a mini Olympics. So it was really, really special. And obviously the cherry on top was winning the gold medal with an incredible team at my university and in front of friends and family.
Anna Toman, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me. It was lovely chatting to you.
I hope you enjoyed this week's preview. For all the latest England hockey, we'll keep you updated with the headlines via their website and also via Facebook and Instagram. Do stop by and give us a follow. I've been your host, Andy Day. Join me again next week for your essential quick guide to the upcoming fixtures.